Jason Reed was an ordinary man working on a mining station orbiting Saturn. His job was simple: check the machines, report errors, and stay out of trouble. He lived alone in a small metal room, surrounded by stars and silence. Every day felt the same. Wake up, work, eat, sleep. But everything changed one quiet night. Jason was lying on his bed, looking out the small round window. The stars blinked slowly in the dark sky. Then suddenly a bright blue light filled his room. It didn't come from outside. It came from the air itself, like a hole had opened in space. Jason sat up, shocked. "What the hell is that?" He whispered. Before he could move, the light pulled him upward. He didn't feel pain, only a strange warmth. The room around him vanished. His heart raced. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. Everything went white. Then, darkness. Jason opened his eyes slowly. He was lying on smooth white stone. The air smelled like flowers, but also something metallic. He sat up, confused. Around him stood tall alien creatures. They were over 7 feet tall, with silver skin and glowing blue eyes. Their bodies looked human, but their faces were calm, cold, and emotionless. The room was huge and glowing. The walls shone with soft blue light. Strange symbols floated in the air, like magic runes. A long hallway stretched out behind the creatures, ending at a tall golden door. "Where am I?" Jason asked, his voice shaking. The aliens didn't answer. They stood still, watching him silently. Then the golden door opened with a low hum. From it stepped a woman unlike any Jason had ever seen. She was clearly the leader. Her skin was pure white like polished stone, and her eyes glowed like stars. She wore a long robe made of silver threads that moved like water. A tall crown sat on her head, shaped like a burning sun. Jason's heart thumped. The woman didn't move her lips, but he heard her voice clearly and inside his mind. "You have been chosen." Jason stood up slowly. "Chosen? For what?" The woman floated closer. Her eyes locked onto his. Jason felt like she could see inside him, into every thought, every memory. "For the sacred ritual," she said. "You are the one we waited for." "The prophecy is true." Jason stepped back. "What ritual? Who are you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she raised her hand. A wave of warmth filled Jason's body. His legs gave out. He dropped to his knees. "You must rest," her voice said in his head. "The ritual begins soon." Jason tried to stand but couldn't. His body felt heavy. His eyes began to close. "No. Wait." She smiled softly. It wasn't a kind smile. Jason forced out one last question, his voice weak. "What ritual?" The high priestess leaned closer. Her smile grew wider. And then, everything went dark. Jason opened his eyes slowly. He was no longer in the glowing temple room. Instead, he lay on a soft white surface like a bed made of light. The ceiling above him pulsed gently, glowing with slow, steady color shifts: blue, violet, gold. He sat up. His clothes had changed. Gone was his mining uniform. He now wore a smooth silver robe that clung to his skin but felt as light as air. It moved when he moved, like it was alive. The room was quiet, but not silent. A low hum echoed from the walls. Strange birds with transparent wings floated outside a circular window, flying in impossible patterns through a sky of 3 suns. Jason's mind raced with questions. Where was he? Who were these beings? And what exactly was this ritual? A soft chime echoed in the room. The wall opened without a sound, revealing a new figure. This one was not tall and glowing like the others. She looked younger, smaller, but still alien. Her skin had a soft pink glow, and her eyes were a deep, endless black. "I am Lyra," she said in a calm, almost robotic voice. "I was assigned to you. I am your translator and guide." Jason stood up, quickly. "Assigned? For what? What is this place?" She tilted her head slightly. You are inside the inner temple of Ixari Prime, the sacred heart of our people. He rubbed his forehead. Yeah, okay. That doesn't help. Why am I here? What's this ritual about? Lyra stepped closer and touched a panel on the wall. Instantly, the room changed. The walls became transparent, like glass. Outside, a massive alien city stretched across the horizon. Floating buildings, creatures with wings, blue fire flowing through channels like rivers. But most shocking were the statues. Towering stone figures stood across the city. They all had the same face. His face. Jason froze. What the hell? You are the chosen, Lyra said quietly. It is written. You are the one who returns during the star alignment to fulfill the great joining. The what? She touched another panel. A 3D hologram filled the air between them. It showed images. An ancient war, dying stars, strange symbols floating above DNA strands. Then a woman, the high priestess, holding a baby in her arms, a child with human eyes. Lyra's voice was soft. Our kind is dying. Long ago we mixed with others to survive. The stars chose a bloodline. That line led to Earth. To you. Jason's breath caught. You mean I was bred for this? Lyra nodded. You were born with the map inside you. The ritual is not just reproduction. It is the rebirth of our kind. Through you. Jason backed away. No, that's insane. I'm just a mechanic, a miner. You've got the wrong guy. She looked at him calmly. The ritual will happen. The high priestess does not make mistakes. Suddenly, the floor began to glow beneath him. The light turned red. Lyra's face changed. For the first time, she looked afraid. They know you are awake, she whispered. The priestess comes. Jason turned. The door opened again. This time, the high priestess entered. She didn't walk. She floated. Behind her, 2 massive guards followed, their bodies glowing like fire trapped in crystal. Jason could feel heat coming off them. Your blood is ancient, the priestess said in his mind. Your body, a key. Your arrival was written before Earth had oceans. Jason clenched his fists. I never agreed to this. You don't need to, she answered. It has already begun. She lifted one hand. Jason's body froze, not like before and not heavy but stiff. Paralyzed. Lyra cried out, Wait! He doesn't know the full prophecy. He must... But her voice was cut off. A beam of light wrapped around Jason and lifted him from the floor. The priestess stared into his eyes. You are the prophecy, and you belong to us now. The beam pulled Jason through the wall. No door, just solid surface that turned liquid as he passed. Everything twisted. Space bent around him. In the distance, he saw something. A great chamber filled with light and shadows. At its center, a giant egg-like structure pulsing with life. He felt something inside it call to him. And then, he blacked out. Jason woke with a jolt. His body ached, as if he had been hit by lightning. He gasped for breath and looked around. This was not a room. This was a cave, alive and breathing. The walls pulsed with slow waves of light, like veins under skin. The floor was soft, warm, and slightly wet. It felt more like a creature than a building. Strange whispers filled the air, voices in a language Jason couldn't understand. Not like the high priestess's voice in his head. These were more primal, older, colder. He was no longer wearing the silver robe. He was bare from the waist up, strange symbols glowing faintly across his chest. They pulsed like a heartbeat, perfectly timed with the room around him. Then a new voice echoed, not in his mind but out loud. The first test begins. A door melted open in the cave wall. Thick mist poured in. Jason stepped forward carefully, his feet sticking slightly to the floor. As he entered, the air grew heavy and cold. Shadows twisted across the walls. Something was in here. Watching. Soft, echoing tone sounded 3 times. Then silence. Suddenly, a mirror appeared in front of him. But this mirror didn't show his reflection. It showed his past. He saw his childhood, a lonely boy, always angry. He saw his mistakes, lies he told, people he hurt, things he wanted to forget. It all played out in front of him like a film made of shame. His face grew hot. Then the mirror spoke with his own voice. "Do you believe you deserve to carry our future?" Jason's voice shook. I don't know." The mirror shattered. The cave rumbled. The floor split and he fell, down into complete darkness. He landed in a shallow pool of glowing blue liquid. It didn't burn. It soothed. But then he heard hissing. Soft at first, then louder. From the shadows they came. Creatures that looked like twisted versions of the priestess's people. Their eyes were black, their bodies broken, half flesh and half metal. They dragged themselves toward Jason with claws and cables, whispering, "Unworthy, impure, false, chosen." Jason backed away. "Stay away from me," a voice boomed from above. Second test, survive. The creatures lunged. Jason ran. He slipped through narrow tunnels, the floor wet and alive. The monsters chased him faster now. He found a pipe and broke it off the wall, sharp, heavy. He turned and swung. One creature screeched and fell. Another leapt at him. He caught it in the chest with the pipe. It exploded into dust. More came. He screamed and fought until he was covered in slime and sweat, kneeling in silence. The creatures had stopped coming. Then the voice returned. "You do not pass because you fought. You pass because you feared death and still chose to live." The room brightened. The walls opened, revealing a tall stone archway. Jason stepped through it, panting. Waiting on the other side was Lyra. She looked relieved, but also frightened. "You made it through 2 tests, she said softly. "The hardest comes last." Jason stared at her. "Why are you helping me? You're one of them." Lyra hesitated. Then she looked around, lowered her voice. "I'm not fully them. My mother was one of the last humans taken before they stopped. The original ritual. She died before I was born. I've never met another like you." Jason blinked. "You're part human?" She nodded. "Which means if you die in the 3rd test, I'm next." They walked together into the final chamber. It was empty. Just black stone and a single floating crystal glowing red. The air buzzed with strange energy. Jason felt his skin crawl. His heartbeat matched the pulse of the crystal. Then the high priestess appeared again, but this time she looked different, taller, more powerful. Her eyes now glowed red instead of blue. "Final test," she said aloud. "Surrender your will, or be destroyed." The crystal rose higher. Jason felt a pressure in his mind, like a knife trying to cut into his thoughts. He dropped to one knee. His memories twisted. His name, his past, his feelings, all began to fade. He looked up and saw Lyra being pulled backward by guards. "No!" he shouted. He stood up, shaking, bleeding from his nose. He reached for the crystal with one last scream of rage and tore it from the air. Everything went white. When he woke, he was outside. The stars above him were spinning. The temple was silent, and the high priestess stood beside him once more, smiling. "You are ready," she said. Jason looked around. No more guards. No more tests. Just silence. And her. "What now?" he asked. "Now," she said, "you enter the chamber of life, and the true ritual begins." Jason swallowed hard. A cold wind blew from the open temple gate, and he walked inside. Jason stepped through the stone gate into the heart of the temple. The chamber of life was not what he expected. No gold, no light, no music. It was dark, cold, silent. The air felt heavy, like it had not been touched for 1,000 years. Giant stone columns stretched high into the shadows. Glowing red roots grew along the walls, pulsing like veins. The floor was smooth and black like glass, but every few steps it flickered with ghost-like images. People, screaming, faces full of fear. Jason shivered. The high priestess walked ahead of him, her robe trailing behind like mist. She did not speak. She did not look back. Then Jason noticed the walls. They were covered with carvings, not alien ones, human. There were spaceships, Earth's continents, even scenes from ancient history. The pyramids, the moon landing. And something strange, the mining station he worked on. His station, in perfect detail. Jason froze. How is this possible? He asked aloud. The priestess didn't stop walking. She answered without turning. Because we have watched your kind for longer than you have existed. Jason touched the wall. The stone was warm. The carvings glowed slightly under his hand. He followed silently until they reached the center of the chamber. A large platform rose from the floor, holding a strange device, like a chair made of living metal. It had tubes and wires, and a glowing red orb at its center. The orb pulsed in time with Jason's heartbeat. The priestess turned to him. Her eyes no longer glowed red, but deep violet, as if she had changed again. This is the core. It will read your blood, your mind, your line, and it will decide if you are truly the chosen. Jason hesitated. I already passed your tests. She smiled, but it was not kind. Those were for the body and the will. This is for the truth. Jason stepped closer, but something caught his eye. Behind the platform, hidden in the shadows, a small hatch, almost invisible. He looked at the priestess. She didn't notice. Or maybe she was pretending not to. Jason made his choice. He turned, faked a stumble, and rolled toward the hatch. He reached it quickly and pulled it open, just wide enough to slip through. An alarm began to echo through the chamber. The priestess screamed in a language he couldn't understand. He didn't stop. The tunnel beyond was narrow and dark. The walls were different, not glowing, not alive, but rusted metal. Old. Human. Jason ran through it, breath heavy, heart pounding. After a few minutes he found a room, and what he saw inside froze him in place. It was a control center. From Earth old wires, Earth-made computers, worn-out flags with the United Nations logo. A recording played on a loop from an old monitor. It was a man. Tired. Scared. My name is Dr. Ellis. If you're watching this, you're human, and you're in danger. This place, it's not a temple, it's a lab, a prison. We were the first. We were taken too. They told us we were chosen, but they lied. Jason stepped closer, eyes wide. We built this outpost in secret, underground. Some of us escaped the ritual. We learned the truth. They don't want to mix with us. They want to use us. Our DNA helps them survive, but it kills us. The screen glitched. Static. They don't reproduce, they clone. But the clones break down, unless human blood is added to the mix. That's what the ritual is. You're not a father. You're fuel. Jason stepped back, his stomach turning. The lights in the room flickered. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hall behind him. Lyra ran in, her eyes wide with panic. You found it, she whispered. Jason nodded. It's all a lie. She looked around the room with tears in her eyes. My mother died in this lab. I've never seen it, never believed it existed. Jason grabbed her arm. We have to get out. Now. But Lyra shook her head. She won't let us. Suddenly the wall cracked open. The high priestess stepped through, but this time she wasn't glowing. Her face was cracked, her skin pulsing. She looked older. Decaying. You were not supposed to see this, she hissed. Jason stood firm. You lied. No, she said. I gave you purpose. Behind her, the floor split open. The core chair rose into view, carried by glowing tendrils. You will sit, she commanded. Jason turned to Lyra. Can we destroy it? She looked unsure. Maybe. But it's connected to the heart below. If we destroy the core, we destroy this whole place. Jason looked back at the broken screens, at the message from Dr. Ellis. Then let's finish what they started. Jason stood between the glowing core and the ghost of Earth's past. The core pulsed like a heartbeat, red light spilling across the floor. Behind him, Lyra stood frozen, torn between fear and hope. In front of him, the High Priestess, her body, flickering like a dying flame, stepped closer with every second. Jason's fists clenched. I won't be your fuel. The High Priestess didn't blink. You already are? Suddenly, Jason's chest burned. The strange symbols from the earlier trials lit up on his skin, brighter than ever before. Lines of red light ran up his arms, into his neck and toward his skull. He dropped to one knee, choking. The core calls to your blood, she said, voice sharp like glass. You were born for this moment. Nothing can stop it. Lyra cried out, rushing to his side. Fight it, Jason. Jason gritted his teeth and stood up, the light from his body flickering, but still glowing. Why me? He shouted. Why not just take my DNA like everyone else? The priestess's eyes flashed. Because your bloodline is different. You carry the original seed, the perfect code, hidden for generations, waiting. Jason's heart pounded. My father, he was just a minor. He was chosen long ago. He refused us, he escaped. But the blood passed on, to you. Jason's head spun. His entire life, a lie? Was he born only to be harvested? He looked at Lyra. We destroy the core. We burn it all. She hesitated. If we do that, the energy will collapse. We may not survive. Jason's voice was cold. Then we take them with us. They ran. Through the old tunnels of the Earth Lab, past dead screens and forgotten dreams, into the heart of the alien temple. The walls trembled, the core reacting, sensing danger. The roots that once pulsed with calm light now thrashed like angry snakes. Suddenly, the temple spoke. A deep ancient voice echoed through the stone. You are not the first, you are not the last. All humans return to the source. Jason and Lyra reached a control hub, hidden beneath the core. It looked human-built but alien-modified. There were switches, wires, tubes full of glowing liquid. Jason smashed through the glass and started pulling wires. Lyra stared at a glowing console. There's a message here, she said. Jason paused. What kind of message? She tapped a sequence. A screen lit up, an old video. Fuzzy and broken, but clear enough a man's face appeared. Jason's heart nearly stopped. It was his father. If you're seeing this, the man said, they've taken you like they took me. I escaped before the final phase. I built this signal, this trap. They think we're weak. They think we'll obey, but you, son, you're stronger than me. End it. For all of us. The screen went black. Jason's hands shook. Lyra placed a hand on his. You're not alone in this, he nodded. Let's finish it. Let's... Above, the High Priestess screamed. Tendrils of red light burst from the core, crashing through the walls. Alien guards poured into the room, weapons ready. Jason and Lyra fought through the chaos. Lyra used a stolen weapon, firing blue energy blasts into the floor, breaking support beams. Jason climbed onto the platform, opened the core's casing, and shoved his hand inside. It was burning hot. His skin blistered, his vision blurred, but he felt it, the pulse, the life, the code, trying to read him, trying to copy him. He screamed and pulled wires, slammed a panel open and drove a metal spike deep into the heart of the core. Boom. A shockwave of red light exploded outward. Everything slowed. The core cracked. The temple began to collapse. Jason grabbed Lyra and ran as the ceiling fell behind them. They sprinted through crumbling halls, past screaming guards and crashing roots. The ground split open. The heart beneath the temple, a swirling pit of living energy, began to consume everything. Jason and Lyra leaped through a doorway as the temple behind them fell into fire. When Jason opened his eyes again, he was lying on stone. They were outside, far from the temple ruins. Smoke rose in the distance. The stars above them blinked quietly. Lyra lay beside him, breathing hard. "We made it," she whispered. Jason sat up slowly. "Did we kill it?" Lyra nodded. "The core's gone. The heart is dying. They can't harvest anyone again." Jason looked up at the stars. "So what now?" Lyra smiled, tired but hopeful. "Now we tell the others. Now we warn Earth." Jason looked back at the fire, and in the smoke, he saw her, the High Priestess, her body cracked and burned but still standing. "This is not the end," she whispered across the wind. "You are still ours." Jason blinked, and she vanished into the dark. Jason didn't sleep that night. Even with the temple in ruins and the core destroyed, something felt wrong. He sat on a high ridge, watching smoke rise from the remains of the alien structure. Stars sparkled above, cold and distant. The wind whispered across the rocks. Beside him, Lyra lay curled under a thermal sheet, trying to rest, but Jason couldn't stop hearing her voice. "The High Priestess, you are still ours." The words echoed again and again in his head. At dawn, the planet's twin suns rose, casting long shadows over the land. Jason and Lyra packed what little gear they had and began walking toward the distant signal tower, an ancient Earth structure once used to send deep space messages. They hoped it still worked. They needed to warn Earth, but the journey wasn't easy. The land beyond the temple was strange and shifting. Trees that breathed, stones that hummed, rivers that moved like snakes. The planet was alive, and not in a peaceful way. As they climbed over a sharp ridge, Jason stopped. The valley below them was filled with pods, thousands of them, each one pulsing with light half buried in the ground like eggs. Inside each pod, shapes, some human, some not. Lyra gasped. "These are cloning pods." Jason nodded slowly. They were building an army. A soft hiss made him turn. One of the pods cracked open. A pale hand reached out. Jason and Lyra ducked behind a rock. The figure pulled itself free, tall, thin, and glowing faintly. It looked like the priestess's kind, but younger, faster, more dangerous. Its eyes opened, glowing silver. Then, it sniffed the air and looked straight at them. They ran. The creature moved fast, too fast. It leapt over rocks, its limbs bending in unnatural ways. Jason fired a stolen energy weapon. The blast hit. The creature stumbled but didn't fall. Lyra yelled, "Over here!" and led him into a narrow cave. The creature followed, but inside it paused. It hissed, backed away, and ran. Jason caught his breath. Why did it stop? Lyra knelt near the cave wall. Look. There were symbols carved deep into the stone. Old human, ancient human. Jason brushed dirt away on and saw a message scratched in English. The core is not the source. The heart is not the master. The chosen are not alone. Underneath it, coordinates. Jason stared. Someone left this for us. Lyra stood up. Maybe your father. Maybe someone else. They stared at the coordinates, far from here, near the, polar region of the planet. It would take days to get there, but the message was clear. The temple wasn't the end. It was the beginning. That night, they reached the signal tower, old, rusted, covered in vines and roots. But it still stood. Jason climbed inside and began restoring power using a backup energy cell. Screens flickered to life. Dust filled the air. Lyra helped connect the cables. Then, the main console buzzed. A message blinked. Incoming signal. Jason and Lyra stared at each other. He pressed accept. A grainy face appeared. Jason Ellis? Jason's heart stopped. It was a woman. Human. In uniform. The patch on her arm read, UEC, United Earth Command. He nodded. Yes. Who are you? Captain Reese, UEC Deep Recon. We received your father's signal years ago. We've been searching for this planet ever since. We thought you were dead. Jason's voice cracked. I'm not. But they're coming. There's more than you know. He explained everything, the core, the clones, the ritual, the heart. The captain looked disturbed. We've seen signs of this, other colonies, disappearances, something spreading, underground across systems. Jason leaned forward. There are coordinates, a deeper source, something worse. She nodded. Send them, we'll come. But it'll take time. Weeks. Jason looked out the broken window at the twin moons rising. We may not have weeks. That night, Jason dreamed. He stood in the ruins of the temple. But it was whole again, alive. The high priestess stood before him, glowing dark red. You killed my body, she said, voice echoing in his mind. But not my seed, not the will, not the source. Behind her the stars shifted. Something massive, larger than a planet, moved through the darkness. A shape with too many eyes, too many mouths, whispering in languages older than thought. The real ritual has begun, she said. Jason screamed, and woke up. Lyra was already up. I had the same dream, she said. They looked at the rising sun. The Earth ship wouldn't arrive for weeks, and in that time, something was waking. The stars were wrong. Jason could feel it, as he and Lyra crossed the frozen lands toward the coordinates left in the cave. The sky above them changed. The stars blinked in and out. Shadows moved in patterns no planet could cause. Something was shifting. Not just in space, but in reality itself. They were near the pole now. Cold winds howled like ghosts, and under their feet, the ground vibrated, as if something deep below was breathing. After 4 days of walking, they found it, a deep crater, ringed with black spires. Each spire was made of bone-white metal, humming softly. In the center, a staircase descending into the frozen earth cut perfectly smooth. Jason stared down into the dark. Lyra checked the signal on the Earth communicator. This is it. The source. Jason took a deep breath. Let's finish it. They descended for what felt like hours. The walls around them changed from ice to metal, then to a living substance that pulsed with faint light, almost like skin. Jason touched it. It was warm. Too warm. The tunnel finally opened into a massive underground chamber, and there, floating in the air, was a sphere of red light the size of a house. Inside the sphere, people, humans, floating, sleeping, connected to the sphere by glowing cords. Lyra gasped. They're alive. Jason's voice was quiet. No, they're dreaming. The high priestess appeared, not as a body, but as a projection of light inside the sphere. Her voice was inside their minds. You destroyed the core, but the source cannot be killed. Jason aimed his weapon. Let them go. The projection smiled. They are the chosen. They are part of the final ritual. You think you stopped us, but you only activated the final phase. Suddenly, the chamber shook. From behind the sphere, something rose. A creature. But not like the aliens they'd seen before, tall, twisted, part machine, part flesh, with 1,000 eyes, a mouth too wide. Its body was made of many humans fused together. Jason stepped back. What is that? The priestess spoke again. It is the will of the source. It is the result of countless failed rituals. You are the final key. Jason turned to Lyra. We're not keys. We're the lock. The creature roared and charged. Jason and Lyra ran behind cover, firing energy blasts. The air grew hot. The creature's roar became 1,000 voices crying at once. Men, women, children, screaming from inside it. Jason's weapon ran out of charge. He dropped it and ran straight toward the sphere. Jason, no! Lyra shouted. But he was already there. He jumped onto the platform, reached into the glowing energy, and let it pull him in. The sphere reacted instantly. Memories flooded him, thousands of them. The lives of every chosen, their hopes, their pain. their deaths. And deeper still, the truth. The High Priestess wasn't the leader. She was a servant, serving something buried in the center of the galaxy, an ancient force called the Origin, which seeded life across the stars and fed off its return. The ritual wasn't for reproduction, it was for collection, collecting humanity's DNA, soul, and thought, to feed the Origin. Jason's bloodline, his father's rebellion, had corrupted the ritual. That's why they feared him. That's why he was chosen, not to serve, but to end it. Jason screamed. He reached into the code of the sphere, changed it, rewrote it. His blood burned, his vision blurred, but he kept going. He changed the signal from absorb to release. And the sphere shattered. A blast of red light spread in every direction. The sleeping humans dropped gently to the floor, alive. The massive creature screamed, then exploded into ash and light. The High Priestess's projection cracked and faded. "You were never meant to win," she whispered, and vanished forever. Lyra ran to Jason. He was lying on the ground, eyes closed, but breathing. She held his hand, tears in her eyes. "You did it," she whispered. "You broke the ritual." 3 weeks later, the Earthship arrived. Captain Reese led a full team to secure the area. The survivors were taken to orbit. The cloning pods were destroyed. The underground chamber collapsed by a seismic bomb. Jason stood at the edge of the shuttle ramp looking at the stars. He still felt the echoes of the source in his mind. It wasn't fully gone, but it was weakened, and now Earth knew. Now humanity was awake. Captain Reese approached. "You coming with us?" Jason turned to Lyra, then back to the stars. He smiled. "No, not yet." Reese nodded. "Still work to do?" Jason nodded. "Somewhere out there. The Origin is still waiting."